Dr. Jessica Goyke at Heart of Life, and I'm here today with my lovely colleague and friend, Lyndsay Lee. If you are watching us and you can hear us and see us, I would love a comment just to know this is our first one this morning, and really excited to have this woman here. Maybe a little bit biased and selfish, that I just think that she is amazing and has wealth of resources to share with us. So that's why I wanted to bring her here for you guys this morning. Lyndsay is a life and health coach. She's a detox and gut digestion expert. And she also hosts our live women's circles at Heart of Life that we were doing monthly before we kind of had to slow down for a little bit. So Lyndsay, tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you're here today to talk about health and digestion and what's important about that right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This is really cool. And I feel really honored to be in your community and to also be like testing out the new Dr. Goyke show. So thank you for everyone who is tuning in. As Jessica said, I am Lyndsay Lee. I have had a long and winding, beautiful road to get to where I am. And essentially it is all anchored and centered in this magical part of our body and the system of digestion. So, you know, this really is a topic. Sometimes when we hear about digestion, it's kind of this thing that we don't know how to connect to. But it's very important for right now because there's a lot going on in our world and in our lives. And there's been so much that has shifted. And what I've been saying over the last few weeks is that we are really processing the process at the moment. And we are learning how to shapeshift in a sense. Yet we've got these bodies that sometimes need a little bit of time to catch up. And so there's like this gap. And in the gap is where we can find a lot of grace and a lot of understanding, while also really learning how to nurture and nourish and what that really means. And over the last few years, Jessica and I have been collaborating. We've done a few self-care workshops and talked about real self-care. And for me, that is both the calming stuff and the stuff that feels really good for us. And it's also doing the hard thing. It's also making the decisions that maybe seem like the harder decisions, but ultimately in the long run, we know that those are serving. So yeah, I mean, it's been a process for me as well. And I'd love to dive into how I can help today and whatnot. But basically everything that I do and talk about comes from a digestive perspective and how we can get you feeling better in your gut. Maybe you're experiencing anxiety or bloat or constipation because of everything that's been going on. So let's dive in.
I love that. I've always loved your holistic, for lack of a better word, approach to digestion. And I've always felt that it just is so on point with the way I talk about the nervous system, and been having these conversations a lot about people just processing a lot more input, right? And so I'm curious, how are you guiding people right now to have a better experience with that processing piece and digesting piece?
Love that. So we've got these, I like to refer to the digestive system as a prehistoric plant-eating dinosaur. And it's very prehistoric and it's very simple. And so we have the opportunity to treat it as such. It can get very stressed out. It's the bottom of the totem pole. So when we get stressed or overwhelmed or we're processing a lot, the bottom of the totem pole kind of shuts down, so that the top of the totem pole, which would be head, brain, lungs, heart, all of these quote unquote more vital organs, right? Mm-hmm. The bottom of the totem pole can just kind of skate by, do its thing. So you might find a lot of my clients are saying, you know, right now their digestion is out of whack, like all this stuff is going on. And the first thing that we are creating is more space. And it might seem like, oh, come on, like, can I do something? And the action is to actually create a little bit of space. So what I've been saying for the last few weeks to some of my clients is, even if you make the same decision, even if you make the same meal or go for the same drink or do the same routine, create a little bit of space first. Because in that space, you allow yourself to actually become a little bit more rooted and pull yourself out of fight or flight and into a more rest and digest space where your very simple plant-eating prehistoric dinosaur will actually be able to digest your food better. So creating space, what does that look like? That looks like deep breaths. Even if it's 3, super simple, standing over the sink, cutting the onions, take a few breaths. Really breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Maybe even taking space before you, as you sit down to eat a meal. And like I said, you might make the same decision, but you've now created space and awareness, and you've brought yourself into balance with that more rest and digest area, because we are we're digesting food, right? We're processing foods that we choose, but we're also digesting light, sound, emotion, trauma, overwhelm, shift, change, husband at home, kids running around. We're digesting all of it. So we don't just look at this system as food in and out. We look at it as absolutely everything. And so the first thing I would say is to create space in any way you can.
I love that. I've noticed in my own personal just digestive awareness over the past few weeks, I have like really slowed down, and I've actually had a lot less of an appetite. Like, although I'll notice some tendencies to want to find those comfort foods and want to nourish the nerve system in that way, because that's kind of an old pattern for me that I'm still working on rewriting. But I'm noticing in general, there's just less capacity for that dinosaur to work. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, our systems, from what we can tell, studying the digestive system, it is basically the only system in the body that has not evolved. And so we've come a long way as humans over thousands of years, but we've got this system that essentially hasn't evolved. So when you think about it like that, you can actually employ a lot of grace, and you can say, oh, it's all right. It actually just thinks that like the mountain lion is trying to eat us right now. It's totally fine. Right?
Yep.
And in that, then employing grace and creating space, we've now come into simple body awareness. And I know you teach that a lot too with the nervous system. And that's kind of the crossover, is the simple anchor points of body awareness can really anchor you into your routine and into feeling safe in a time where there might be a lot going on.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. And I love thinking of tying it into mealtime, because I know I'm also not alone in the fact that mealtime sometimes can feel really chaotic depending on what the environment is, or if you're trying to feed a lot of people. So tying in that awareness right when you're about to go digest, I could just see how vital that is, especially right now. So that's beautiful. Yeah. I would love to hear more about the other piece that you shared in the beginning about the doing the hard thing. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So this is what I like to call my sometimes unpopular opinion about self-care and self-nurturing. And I think this really ties into our times right now, because we are in a very unique and strange time where we are being asked to process a lot, and for most of us, a lot has shifted. And in this time, we tend to either go in overload go mode and we just keep going, or we get into overwhelm and we freeze, or we avoid, or we tend to reach for comfort, whatever that might look like. And so really what we want to do is do the hard thing. Not all the time. It's not like it's not a forceful thing. What I mean by doing the hard thing is making the decision that will support your best and highest self moving forward, knowing that that is actually creating space and abundance and rootedness and feeling really good. So an example of that really would be, you know, two really tangible ones would be, instead of, you know, ordering takeout again and again, choose a salad and make it yummy. You can make it as yummy as you want, but use dense nutritional food to support yourself as much as you can. Another example of that would be, yeah, there's a lot of times where I am in whatever space I'm in and I don't want to go for a run, even though I've been a runner my entire life. So my motto is just put your shoes on. Because if you put your shoes on, you've done 90% of the work. And it doesn't matter if you go out and run a marathon or you run for 20 minutes. But in this time, the hard thing might be just putting your shoes on and getting outside. But I guarantee that you will come back completely shifted and able to really say, I'm proud of myself for that. I supported myself in that. So that's really what I mean when I say do the hard thing in these overwhelming times.
Yeah. And I love how you're reeling it back to how people are perhaps showing up today. But it's also an example for us at any point in time. That reminds me so much of a concept I talk about with a lot of people in their nervous system as well, with that idea of acting from the place as if you already have the thing you want, whether it's better health, feeling good in your body. A lot of people can't even fathom like, oh, I have this thing, but I haven't even thought about what it's like on the other side of that. And I want you to start thinking there. And then what would that person do in this situation? How would they feed themselves? How would they move their body? Really getting someone outside of their box and creating new neural pathways, essentially.
I absolutely love that. I teach the same thing to my clients. And the thing and why that is so connected is because when we are creating those new neural pathways, we're actually also then communicating not only to our whole body, but to our gut, because our gut connects to our brain so deeply. And so when you are you're present now, but you're almost forward thinking and saying, who do I want to be? And how does that person show up? You can actually create vitality and joy and those feelings in your body now. And it might start small and it might not feel super tangible right away, but it'll grow incrementally as you move along. And the more that you show up for yourself, the more that it actually becomes addictive to show up for yourself in the better ways versus the old shitty habits and patterns.
Sure.
So you might feel the quicksand in the beginning, right? And I'm sure a lot of your clients have felt this, but as they start to commit to this, it's like a ball gaining momentum and you just go and go and go. And yeah, there's an opportunity there, right? And especially now, if we have more time or less time, there's something weird going on right now, and there's an opportunity.
There is absolutely an opportunity. I love that. Thank you so much, Lyndsay. I love your 2 cents, and everything you have to offer is so easy to digest. I mean, I hate to be funny, but how can people who are listening in stay connected with you?
Awesome. Yeah. So you can find me the most easy right on this platform on Facebook, Lyndsay Lee here. Shoot me a message. I absolutely love to have just conversations, one-on-ones. And if that turns into some way that I can support you further, I would love to have that dialogue. You can also find me on Instagram at Lyndsay Lee, Lyndsay, and then Lee. And I've got some really fun stuff planned over the next month or two. So I would love to offer some special stuff to your community.
So good. She's definitely worth a follow. You'll have a lot of fun. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being here, and hope you have a joyful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Love it. Bye, Linz. Bye, guys.